Welcome everyone to the Proven Knowledge Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Church. I'm a music producer from Northeast Ohio. I began this weekly interview series to give you different perspectives from artists, producers, engineers, and other individuals in the music industry. In each episode, we touch on not only what has helped the person succeed, but we also touch on what has shaped them into the person that they are today. I hope you're able to gain some real proven knowledge from the show, and that it helps elevate you on your own journey to success as well. Let's get into it. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 234 here on the Proven Knowledge Podcast. Today I welcomed an Atlanta-based singer-songwriter. Her name is Kayla Janae. Kayla is an artist that Dom sent me. Shout out to Dom for always sending me amazing artists, and it was no different this week. We had a great conversation with Kayla. She joined me to discuss her newest singles, Heart Crime and No Games, both of which are a part of a 5-track EP that should be coming out by the time this is recorded. So you'll be hearing this in December. That EP should be coming out in November. So definitely go give that a listen. She discussed kind of accidentally being led to music through dance. But she discussed the past 5 or 6 years, what she's learned being in the studio, writing, recording, some of the people that she has had mentor her, the importance of her mom, and all those other people that she shouted out on this episode. And she also talked about, some other forms of creativity that she does to, just continue to recharge and replenish the batteries, which I think we all can relate to. And overall, I really love Kayla's optimism and her excitement about what she has coming up. So you can definitely feel that in this conversation. I hope you guys enjoy this one, as always. Without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so welcome everyone to episode 234 here on the Proven Knowledge Podcast. Today we have a really soulful singer. She blends R&B and pop very well. Someone that Dom connected me with. Dom's always sending me amazing artists, and it's no different today with today's guest, Kayla Janae. How you doing, Kayla?
Hi, I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing great. Like I said, thanks for, wanting to be on the show today. And we usually have the guest give some background, just kind of introduce yourself for those that might not know you and what you do.
All right. So I am Kayla Janae. I'm an R&B pop artist. I've been making music for about 6 years now, and I just put out my second single called Heart Crime. It's out on all streaming platforms, and I am releasing my debut EP very, very soon.
Awesome. I'm definitely excited to discuss the new singles as well, because I know you dropped a couple in 2024 and the new EP, so we'll get to that in a little bit. Firstly, I want to know kind of like what led you to singing specifically, like even just growing up. Were there certain artists that you heard that made you say, you wanted to be a singer? Like, how did you get to this point of being an artist?
So I started off as a dancer, and that's all I pretty much wanted to do. I wanted to be on TV as well, but I was pursuing dance as my career until I got to middle school, and I joined the praise team on my church. And ever since then, I've just never stopped singing. I joined this training camp at AGI Entertainment, and I started training, started writing music, and fell in love with it ever since.
Awesome. And you said it's been about 6 years now pursuing being an artist too, which is interesting. Yeah. And are you based in Atlanta? Is that where you're based at?
Yes, I am.
Awesome. So, nice. So is that a little bit different being from there as opposed to moving there? Because I know a lot of artists have moved to Atlanta because it's such a buzzing music city. So like, what is that experience like for you as someone that's been there their whole life?
Honestly, I'm still discovering it myself. Even though I have been making music for 6 years, I haven't really branched out and like really discovered like what's out there. But I definitely see why people are drawn to Atlanta. There's so many resources here. And yeah, the music, there's like so many different people, so many artists that I've met. So I think that it's a great start for me to already be here in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Because I think it helped me like jumpstart my career.
Yeah, for sure. It's kind of crazy because like even comparing it to like LA and New York and the bigger markets, it's like I feel like the popularity has grown a ton just in the last like probably 10 years or so. It's great to hear that you're still out there and still doing your thing. And I do kind of want to know the parallels between dance and, being an artist singing. Were there any growing pains as far as like when you decided you were going to be an artist, start singing? Was there any like difficulty when you were getting started, or did it kind of just feel more natural since you were already performing in dance?
So yeah, there was definitely a lot of challenges, growing pains, as you said, because I never thought of myself as a singer. I always like wanted to dance, so like singing was never really in the picture for me until I joined the praise team. And when I did join the praise team, I thought it was a dance team, but they were like, no, you gotta sing too. So it wasn't necessarily like my first choice, but I just decided to stick with it. And not starting off as a singer did come with its challenges because I didn't know anything about the music industry. I didn't know anything about recording, but I have my mentors to guide me along the way. Got to do like a recording workshop, so I knew, how to maneuver those things, and started to build my team. And because of my mom, she's like really the person that helped me get to where I am today. Like without her support, I don't know what I would be doing right now. So she's pretty much like what helped me get over those challenges.
Yeah, for sure. And that almost sounds like a happy accident because you didn't even know what you were getting into, and then it just kind of like went that direction. Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of crazy how things happen like that sometimes, and then those little instances can kind of lead us to like bigger things than we even thought for ourselves. So I'm grateful to hear that that's the case for you as well in that way. And I do like to have the guests give some shout outs. And you just shouted out your mom and some other people that have been involved. So anybody you want to shout out today on the show?
First, yes. So Brandon J, he's one of my mentors. He's my vocal coach, sound producer, not sound producer. I was about to say soundscape artist. That's what he calls himself. Vocal producer. And he just guided me along my journey in the industry. And Miss Natasha, she is also like one of my biggest mentors. She's helped me grow along the way. Let's see who else. Sarah, she is one of my choreographers, and she has taught me so many things about dance and everything. So yeah,
awesome.
Those are just a few people.
For sure, that's great to hear. And I'm interested about your process in the studio as well, whether you're recording at home or actually in a full size studio. How do you think your process has evolved over the past 5 or 6 years since you kind of got started? And that could be with writing, that could be with just the recording, or even like beat selection. Like, are you hearing instrumentals first and then writing to them, or are you kind of just going like one step at a time, doing everything at once? Like, tell us more about your process and how that looks.
So I'll start with the writing first. Writing is like, so exciting. I was just having a writing session yesterday, actually. My process is different every time. So sometimes I'll find a beat and it'll just like come to me. The lyrics will come to me. And then other times I might have a melody in my head and I record that, and then I'll think about it later and be like, oh my gosh, I have a beat to this. It's different every time. But that's what I love about it. Because it's just, it makes me, it keeps me excited about the craft. And with the studio, I feel like over the years, I've definitely grown in terms of like quickness, because when I first started off, it would take me like 3 sessions to complete one song. So I think that that growth and muscle memory has really just built up and strengthened. And yeah.
I've had that discussion with a lot of singers, especially, is like when you're paying for studio time, you really got to utilize the time. So it's like the more you do it, and like you said about muscle memory, it becomes more of like a habit, like you get used to it. So it's like, I feel like when you're at that point, you're paying for this time, you really got to utilize the time that you're there, because you don't want to have to keep paying to come back just to kind of have empty sessions. And I think that's a lot different than like when you're doing things on your own time, because I know like some people have home studios, other people just kind of like pick and choose when they want to record. But when you're investing that money directly into it, it's like, you gotta kind of utilize it. And it's cool to hear that has, you've been able to see that evolution in your process too, since the start. So that's awesome to hear.
And I do have like a mini home studio set up, but that's like mainly for like when I record my demos and everything. But I've even noticed like with that, I've gotten more comfortable with like doing my own ideas and own ad libs and like seeing what fits, what doesn't fit, making sure the timing is right.
Yeah.
I actually love like sound production and everything. So yeah.
Hey there, hope you're enjoying the episode so far. I just wanted to take a quick minute out to let you know about a couple different ways that you can support the podcast. One of the ways is by clicking that support the podcast button within your streaming platform. That is if you want to be a monthly supporter of the show. You can contribute either 99 cents, $5, or $10 a month. So that's the first way, and that's the more traditional way that we've had now for the last couple years. The other method that we actually just recently introduced is from our good friends over at Ko-fi. Ko-fi is a virtual tip jar. We have set our limit to a minimum of $10, but you can go make one-time, one-off donations. So if you visit ko-fi.com/the Proven Knowledge Podcast, you'll be able to donate. And all these different forms of donation go towards getting new guests every single week, getting potential sponsors on board to do giveaways, and overall just making the show better for you guys. So if you want to do that Ko-fi link, it's ko-fi.com/the Proven Knowledge Podcast. Otherwise, again, look for that support the podcast button in your streaming platform if you'd like to be a monthly supporter. And I just want to say thank you guys for your contributions. And without further ado, let's get back into the episode. Do you ever utilize like voice memos on your phone at all? You ever record on those?
Surprisingly not, which I always think about. I'm like, why do I have all of this stuff in my camera roll when I can just like voice memo it all? But I just record it as a video and then it gets lost for a while until I find it and I'm like, oh, that happened.
It's important to get those ideas out too, even if they're just like the little fragments of the idea, because then you can take it later and then like expand upon it, make it something bigger and more well thought out. And I love to hear people's process because everybody has a different process on like how they do it. So that's definitely cool to hear. I definitely want to get into these new releases that we talked about earlier. And Heart Crime is one, and then No Games was the other single that you dropped this year as well. So tell us about those, and then tell us like what we can expect on the new EP that you got coming out.
Okay, well, No Games and Heart Crime, man, those are like my babies. So is the EP, but we're talking about these right now, when I wrote them, I was in a broken place. And for me, it's usually like very hard for me to express how I feel through words or just like through talking, having a conversation. So I put that all in my music when I don't know what to say, which is interesting because I can say what all I need to say in song form, but when it comes to like speaking it, I don't know. It's just jumbled up thoughts. So when I wrote those, it just came out like a waterfall. And I'm just like so proud of like what the songs turned into as far as like how people can relate to it and how many people it's reached. And I'm just like in shock of like how much love and support that I've gotten from those two songs. And I am really excited about this EP. The EP is, I can tell you this, it's the 5 stages of heartbreak. So like every stage of heartbreak that I went through, that's how the order is of the EP. So by the end, it's like, all right, man, it was nice knowing you, but peace out,
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited to see how the people respond to that.
So I assume if that's 2 parts of the EP, then there's 3 more then. 3 more tracks, yes. I assume. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and do you have like a release date set, or you're still kind of finalizing?
I do.
When that's going to be?
But I will be announcing that on my Instagram very soon. Yeah.
Is it before the end of the year? I'll try to get that out of you.
It's not the end of the year.
Okay.
It'll be before that. It's very, very, very soon. Okay. So let's just say November.
Nice.
Yeah.
So by the time this episode is out, everybody, the EP should be out. So definitely go check it out.
So stream.
Yes, absolutely. And I always like to ask as well on these episodes more about like other things you're doing outside of music, other things you're doing outside of creative works to kind of help, charge your creativity, hobbies, day-to-day activities, anything that even helped in the process of making this EP. Like, how has life been treating you recently, and what have you been doing to kind of give back to yourself in that way?
That's a good question. Okay, so I love painting. Painting is like one of my outlets that I just let go. I don't care about anything. Like, I don't care how it looks. I just paint how I feel. Sometimes it's just blobs on a canvas, but that's how I feel. That's how I feel in the moment. That's cool. So I paint a lot. I like a lot of my outlets are still creative. I'm just like, I love to create and make things. So painting is one of them. And then I like to remake clothes or just make clothes in general. I haven't sewn in a while, but like I made this hoodie.
Oh, nice. I didn't even see it said Heart Crime. Yeah.
It's actually awesome. A Heart Crime hoodie. It should be coming soon to the public.
Awesome.
So buy them. But yeah, I love making stuff, handicrafts. Spending time with my friends, my family, walking, going on walks. It's just reconnecting with nature, getting outside, fresh air.
Yeah. Always helps.
A lot of the stuff that's just very chill and relaxing.
Yeah. Definitely can relate to that for sure. And like you said, there's so many different types of ways to express yourself, even outside of music. And, what you do is like your main passion. So it's great to hear that, you have those things going on. So, and we got the last few questions here. These are ones I ask on every episode. The first one is, if you could go back 10 years ago, maybe give yourself a piece of advice or maybe not change anything at all, what do you think you would do?
I would tell myself to not be so hard on myself and to not try and fit in, because I can remember back when I was in middle school, like it was always so hard for me. I thought I was like the outcast, the outsider, and I always wanted to be like the cool kids and do what they were doing. But then like it just never happened for me, and I was like kind of alone. But now I've learned to like sit in that, for lack of better words, loneliness, and just realize like it's okay for me to be different. It's okay for me to be myself, and nobody can take that away from me. If I'm someone else, like I took away like the one thing that makes me unique is like my authenticity. So I would tell myself to be my authentic self no matter what.
Yeah. And I think the older you get, you embrace your individuality a lot more too, which is awesome. Absolutely. So, yep. And if we go ahead.
The crazy thing. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
The crazy thing is, one more thing. The crazy thing is, all of the cool people that I looked up to, turns out they were being themselves the whole time. So like, I'm like, okay, now that I'm older, a lot more people are like, yo, you're so cool, you're so dope. And I'm like, really? Okay. I'm just like, I'm here, but it makes sense. Cause like, I see a lot of celebrities and different public figures, and they're literally just being themselves, and their like quirkiness and weirdness is what makes them like that. They have that ick factor. So yeah, that's
just keep being you. That's all you got to do.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
And if we flip that then and we say 10 years from now, where do you think you envision yourself in music, dance, and in life in general?
Okay, I would envision myself being more grounded. I see myself on a lot of TV shows. I definitely want to pursue acting. And I would love to be on different talk shows, Grammys, big performances all around the world, maybe a world tour. Yeah, just living my life freely.
Yeah. You ever think you'll have your own show one day? Talk show or something?
Absolutely.
Podcast?
Oh, you said a talk show?
Talk show, podcast, anything like that.
Podcast. Yeah. That's funny that you mentioned that, because I actually do have a talk show / podcast type of thing. It's called Car Conversations, and I did 2 episodes in there on my YouTube, and I'm gonna be starting like a whole series about that. So
awesome.
Yeah, that's something that I've been wanting to do for a while.
Yeah.
So
congrats on that too. I'll have to check that out. So awesome. Nice. And do you have any final words of wisdom today for the listeners?
Take your time with everything that you do, because it's better to do what you're called to do with a clear mind, and when you're not frantic or anxious about everything. When you're anxious about something, don't let your emotions get in the way of doing what you need to do and taking your time. You have a lot of time on this earth. And yes, I feel like a cliche is our time is limited. Do what you do now, whatever. However, you can still take your time in knowing that. Yeah.
Great reminder to have for anybody, I think. So, yeah. Well, Kayla, I got to say, again, thank you for joining me today. Congrats on the new singles and the new EP coming out. I'm definitely going to be checking it out. And if you ever want to come back on here for a part 2, just let me know. And the door's always open. So thank you.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Thanks everyone for listening today. That was episode 234. We'll be back this time next week. As always, hit that support button on your podcast streaming platform if you'd like to send any funds. Feel free to leave us a 5-star rating if you enjoyed today's episode. And as always, tap in on twitch.tv/AnthonyChurch24 for more exclusive content on Tuesday nights at 6 p.m. Eastern. But we will see you this time next week. And as always, thanks for listening, guys.